Hi everyone, I'm Ryan Taylor with All Access Homes, and I'm standing here with Hunter Milborne of the Milborne Group, here to talk to you a little bit about pre-construction and why it's better to buy pre-construction versus resale as an investment. Hunter, I guess that was my first question. Why would you suggest, with your decades of knowledge of pre-construction and selling, would you purchase pre-construction, and you personally do, I know, over resale?
No, it's a very good question. I think that the main difference is in the resale market, when you're dealing with standing inventory, a typical closing date would be 30, 60, 90, maybe 120 days. So, definitely appreciation can kick in, but it's going to kick in, after you've made that total investment, or you've got payments, you've got, the whole asset price versus the deposit price. So the analogy I always like to make is that let's assume that you're buying something for $800,000 just because it's an easy number, and you're going to pay a 15% deposit, so it's $120,000. So if you and it's delivering in 4 years, just for hypothetical example. So if you do a little calculation in your own mind using your own numbers, what do you think the average annual rate of appreciation will be over those next 3 or 4 or 5 years? But it's also on the asset value, not on the deposit amount. And then when you calculate whatever that is on the asset value, the return on the deposit amount is usually pretty significant. And that's before you've even had to close the transaction or incur any management fees or rental, just before you even close, often you can make an excellent return on your deposit. I think the one thing that's changed in the pre-construction market recently is that historically it was pretty much 20% deposit in stages, usually over a year and a half, for typically a 4-year plus or minus delivery. In other cities, and they were like in Miami, it's 50%. In a lot of other countries, it's 80%. You pay as you go along. And that's general account money. It's not trust money.
I did not know that.
Yeah, so that's a big difference. So the nice thing about Ontario, and I always say to people, look, those deposits are insured by the province. So the absolute worst case scenario is that you're going to get your money back. So what stock or mutual fund or any other investment can compare with that? So even if you use a 20% deposit and do that math on the asset value appreciation over a period of time versus the deposit amount, it works well. But what's happened in the last year or so, we've seen a lot of projects come out with a 15% deposit or a 10% deposit. Or once the developer has secured bank financing, now he's got 20 or 25% or 15% of his suites left, and he may often decide to sell with a 5 or 10% deposit.
Because he's not reliant on the bank at that point to
Correct.
have those deposits?
Correct. So those can be, even though you're not getting first choice in a building situation, those can be very attractive just because the leverage is better.
With the current state of the market and how things have been for the last year, especially after the momentum that we had going through pre-construction during COVID, the switch flipped, but it seems as though, and I've noticed it, I'm pretty sure you have as well, in the last 90 days to the last 6 months, truly, that I'm seeing the market change on the pre-construction side. Are you seeing that, and what opportunities do you see as the right areas for people to go to invest their money for growth?
Yeah, what we noticed over the last year or so, since interest rates started to rise and after COVID, was that the pre-construction volumes fell pretty significantly. And really 2 reasons. Number one was a lot of buyers were on the sidelines, and a lot of sellers, a lot of developers were on. They said, well, look, if the buyers aren't there, then why would I launch my project right now? I'm going to defer it 6 months or 12 months. So the pre-construction volumes dropped fairly significantly. Prices really can't drop in pre-construction because the economics are such that if you don't get the price, the project isn't economic and it doesn't proceed. So that's a very limiting supply factor. Whereas in the resale market, you can have volumes change, you can have prices change because someone has to sell, then price can be reflected in that.
I noticed that a lot, especially back in 2018 when the market changed. It was a race to the bottom on the resale side, whereas pre-construction prices, the builders just stopped selling, whereas 6 months after that happened, all the values started coming back up, and it was just the way the market changed locally for that particular market. Now, with the areas of, what areas of growth do you see for people to look at as far as geographically? Is it the downtown core? Is it outside the core with the way the market changed during COVID, people moved out? Where do you see growth?
Listen, I think it's different in different areas, but I think the general growth is really everywhere because of the incredible amount of new immigration. It's just when you talk about prices, if you sort of start in Midtown Toronto, let's call it the Yorkville neighborhood, there you're looking at $2,000 to $2,500 a square foot today. You know, downtown Toronto, you're looking at probably $1,600 to $1,800 a square foot. So not everybody wants to purchase at that price or can afford to purchase at that price. So when you get outside the city, on the east or north or west side, you know, if we're in Oakville, Mississauga, you know, you're going to be in that kind of $1,100 to $1,250 range probably, and which is obviously a lot more affordable. And what you've also found, if it's an investment purchase, you might find that your rents aren't that much less.
No, that I have noticed that our rents outside the city are close to downtown, but the cost of purchasing for the entry-level investor or someone who wants to take that equity and buy 2 units versus 1, the return might be greater because the rent is comparable to downtown Toronto,
right,
or slightly less, but there are 2 units going up in value with that rental compensate, or that rent coming in with it. A question I get asked all the time is, why should somebody buy through All Access Homes and myself or any platinum agent versus wait and go directly to the builder?
Listen, I think that, you know, the way, and I just explained it earlier today to another gentleman, I said, look, if XYZ company lists a home and ABC company sells the home, I mean, that's the same relationship here. I mean, we typically have specialized in listing projects. So that's our business, that's our specialty. We've done it for many, many years. We have many developers as clients, many neighborhoods, many areas. But we rely on a key group of brokers that we have relationship with that have teams that specialize in marketing pre-construction real estate. So, you know, we're the listing brokers, they're the selling brokers, so it's a very symbiotic relationship for us to be able to go to that group and know that they have a reliable client base and a renewing level of purchasers all the time for us to help us market our projects.
Well, you give us all the great material, so we get it out to our clients and do a lot of advertising to make sure we bring in those qualified buyers, put them through essentially the litmus test of, can they afford this, can they get the financing, are they going to move forward? Because it's a relationship that we don't want to lose with you if people back out of deals. It's to make sure that they're serious and they're going to purchase, which makes you shine with the builder.
Yeah, there's a lot of communication that goes on with you and your clients, you know, qualifying, you know, presenting mortgage approvals, bank drafts, you know, there's a lot of work. So if we have a team of 2 or 3 or 4 salespeople on a project, you know, it doesn't replace that network of 50 or 75 or 100 selling agents that can help us get that distribution done quickly.